Happy first day of spring. Today is March the 20th and it is officially here. It is springtime. I'm really excited about it because springtime is a time when I can really start getting into the garden outdoors and transplanting my seedlings. But before you get into all of that, there are things that you really need to get done to prepare for your spring and your summer gardening. And so in this video today, I am going to tell you about 10 things that are very important that I think that you should do. These are things that I'm going to be making sure that I'm doing, but I think these are some things that you really should consider doing before you start gardening for the spring. So let's look at this list right now. Have fun in the garden. That's number one. You got to have fun in the garden. Gardening can be so much fun. You can exercise. You can think of it as recreational. There's a lot of cool things that you can do in the garden and put your mind to it and to the design of it. But if you're not having fun in the garden, then you're missing out on so much just beneficial health and rewards of the energy that you can get from just gardening. So enjoy what it is that you're doing, making sure that as you're planning out your garden, it's something that you love because you want to enjoy it and have fun in the garden. Okay, when you are working so hard in the garden, because there's so much things that you are going to have to do every single day, in the morning, at night, in the middle of the day, and then you might get a storm that comes through, a drought that comes through, heat wave, a winter storm, all kinds of things, hail, rain, all kinds of weather, pests, diseases, and then you get disappointed because it might affect the plants, or it does affect your plants. So you want to really have fun as you're gardening and look at it in a fun way so that you can enjoy the process. But number one is have fun in the garden. Number two is finalize your design plan. I think that is really important to do in advance before you even start sowing seeds and gardening. You need to know what your plan is, what you're going to design, what kind of pots or raised beds or equipment and things that you need so that you can go out and purchase these items and purchase the seeds. And you don't want to just jump into it and not have a plan. And then next thing you know, you're wasting money that could have been used for other things. So make sure that you have a plan so that you can appropriately buy the seeds and the materials that you need for your garden design plan. So I actually redesigned my garden. I had a little bit of extra that I was adding to my plan because I wanted to expand my garden. And so what I did is I planned it way back in the fall. I knew what I wanted to do, but I knew that I would have to plan it way in advance. And then particularly in these cold months, just knowing what kind of seeds and what kind of structures that I would need for the garden design. So make sure that you plan in advance. Number three is manually construct your design outdoors. So that is really important. You've now taken the time to design your plan, but you need to go ahead and put your plan into action outdoors. That means you're going to have to get your hands dirty. You're going to have to get your hands into doing this work. I had to screw these things together, and I had to go and get a couple of these other raised bed materials that I'm using and set it all up and measure everything out. This is a 20 by 20 space, 200 square feet. And so I have to go and measure it all out and to put it all together. And that took time. But I did that during the very cold months, okay? And I was doing that well in advance because I know that when spring comes and my seedlings are crying out to go into the raised beds, they're going to be ready, and I need to be ready right away to do it. I don't want to waste any time. So make sure that you're going out purchasing or getting any kind of containers that you have, or if you have containers stored away, start bringing those things out, cleaning them up and making sure that they are ready so that when the seedlings are telling you it's time to transplant, you are able to transplant it at that time. Number four is start your seeds indoors. Or if you've got a hoop house, or if you have a greenhouse, or you're just starting on your patio, depending on what your climate's like in your area. But start your seeds indoors will give you a head start so that you have seedlings that you are transplanting into your own garden. That way it's going to save you on some money as well because you're not going to the store and buying the seedlings that are being sold there. So you have your own seedlings. But early on in March, or even later on in March, like right now it's later on in March, you can still start seeds indoors because particularly like your plants that you would transplant in May or in the warmer months, they don't want to be out in the cold. So this is a good time to start, maybe 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. And for some, that is still into early May. You can actually just start your seeds indoors, okay? And another thing is, if you have not started your brassicas, for some people, they really don't have a warm summer till a little bit later on. You can still start your brassicas indoors, like your lettuce and kales and Swiss chard and a lot of different things. I have an indoor and outdoor garden, so some things will be grown indoors, but you can still start seeds indoors so that you can transplant into your garden. So one thing I would definitely say is go ahead and get a head start and start your own seeds indoors or wherever that location might be. Another very important task is testing your soil. So whether you're using raised beds or if you're planting directly into the ground, you want to test the soil. You want to test the pH. You want to see if your soil is lacking any kind of nutrients, or you want to see whether it's very alkaline or if it's acidic, because some plants don't want alkaline, some want acidic, and then vice versa, for depending on what the plant is. So you want to take the time to do simple thing like that, like testing your soil. That is still something that I know that I need to get done for the season. Another thing is, you could have got it done in the fall. And so if I would have had it done in the fall, then by the time it's in the spring, I wouldn't have to do much amendments to my soil. But I'm going to go ahead and just test it. I did put great material in here over the past year. But that is a very important thing, because if your soil is lacking the nutrients that it needs, which of course affects the plants, then your plants are also going to suffer throughout the season, be more susceptible to certain pests and diseases. So you want to make sure that your soil is in pretty much top-notch shape so that you're able to appropriately feed the plants and the seedlings that you will be planting in your raised beds. So test your soil, also check the pH and see what kind of nutrients that it is lacking or that it has, or see what you may need to do to amend it. Number 6 is sterilize your tools. You must sterilize your tools, because who knows what kind of pathogens or things could be still sitting on these tools from when you used them last season, last year. And so you want to make sure that your tools have been appropriately cleaned, sterilized, whether that's something like this that I use to mix up my compost and through my soil when I'm mixing up a lot of different things. And then also, any kind of scissors that you use, which I do use for a lot of pruning of things. And then also even my gloves. Okay, I touch a lot of things with these gloves. So I make sure that either I'm going to get I'd rather not get some new gloves. I just can go ahead and wash them. If I need them or get more, I'll get more. But it's more cost effective to just wash these gloves and to clean them in that kind of way. So these are just very simple little things, but they're very important. Don't overlook sterilizing your equipment before using them in your fresh garden for the year. Number 7 is repairs and maintenance. Let's talk about that for a second, because you're going to have things that you need to repair, that you need to fix. And for example, for me, a lot of my repairs and maintenance have to do with the squirrels and the different animals that are just trying to dig through my garden enclosure here, because they want to get access to the food that I have in here. So this is a chicken wire type material, okay, that I put up on this enclosure. But there was a big hole here that the squirrels dug right through, cracked right through. And so I had to patch it up, if you can kind of tell, with a double layer there to keep them out. So these things are important, because what was happening is that the squirrels were getting into my raised beds and digging holes and tearing up the seedlings, which was causing a lot of problems. So some of my seedlings were not able to properly grow in my fall gardens. And then I patched it around here. I mean, they were busy and at work doing their thing so they could get some food. And even just looking at my compost, I found a big hole in here and I just stuck it with a piece of cardboard, just real temporarily, not thinking that would do anything. But look, another animal dug their way through. I do believe that that was a squirrel, because this material is very strong. And this is the first that I've seen this. So I've got to figure out a way where I'm going to patch this up to keep it protected so that they can't get back in there. That's what I'm talking about as far as repairs. Finding things that need to be fixed because if I don't fix that, something's going to find a nice warm place to sleep in there. Number 8 is pruning. Right now is a really great time to do any kind of pruning on shrubs or trees or bushes, because there's really nothing really on here yet. See, just a few little leaves are starting to form right now, just some of the first leaves. But this is my walkway to my garden hose and some of my really important access points. And so these shrubs get really large and grow over, and makes it difficult for me to bring equipment in between here. So I need to make sure to go ahead and start pruning this area. So if you have fruit trees or any other trees that need to be pruned, right now will be a great time to do it before all of the green leaves start forming. So number 9 is check on your compost. You really need to check on your compost, because if you're like me, you may have a lazy compost that just pretty much sits there over the cold season and there's not that much turning going on. So during this month, you want to kind of reactivate the compost and to get it going again. And if you need to add anything into it, go ahead and add any additional, maybe coffee grounds, nitrogen, or anything like that. But you want to mix this compost, and you want to make sure that you're taking the time to do that so that you're able to either use it sometime or at some point during the summer or in the fall when you're getting ready to close your raised beds. And that's how I was able to use a lot of my compost actually last year, was with starting up a new raised bed. I was able to use it then. But this year I really want to use it to close up my beds and start a few beds as well. But very important to go ahead on these nice warm days now in the spring and start turning your compost and getting that thing going. So if you're doing any kind of leaf mulch, now's the time to check on your leaf mulch. I have 4 bags here that have been sitting all winter season long. And so I want to check on them, make sure that they're looking good. If they need to be reactivated in some kind of way, seeing if they have broken down, or if I need assist to help it continue to break down some more, because I really would like to use some of this leaf mulch on top of my raised bed to protect the soil from the harsh temperatures that we definitely do get into my zone 6. So just like composting and your leaf mulch composting, you just really want to make sure that you're starting to look at it, get into it, see if there's anything that you need to do to help reactivate it for this springtime. And number 10 is something to cover your crops. There are going to be cold days, maybe frost days, days when you're going to have maybe a drought or a heat wave and maybe some harsh winds. You just want to have something that you can cover your crops whenever that is. And if you have it in advance, then when that weather comes, you're ready to cover it. You're not out there trying to run and order something online or run to the store and try and find something and it's all bought out because everyone's been buying it. So you want to make sure that you're prepared in advance and making sure you have something to cover your crops to prepare it. Because the worst thing is working very hard and not having your crop protected, and then it's hurt, it dies, or it doesn't recover, or endure some kind of weather stress. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that, I've experienced it. I actually experienced it this season with my seedlings. I put it outside, think, oh, it's gonna be okay. And I just put it in the wrong location. And my seedlings froze and did not recover. And these were brassicas, plants that could handle 28 degrees weather. But the area where I put it, where I normally put it, is full sun. But this time I was just rushing out of the house and I put it in another area, and that area did not have full sun. And that cold in that one area was about 5 to 10 degrees different. And it froze it, and they basically are not recovering. So I'm starting all over again. But we learn from these lessons of gardening. You learn and you move on and you just do it again and you keep going. Because why? Gardening is fun. That's why gardening's fun. Because you just learn from it, you move on, you learn, you do better. It just helps you to be a better gardener. These are my 10 tips that I want to give to you. These are things I really suggest and recommend that you consider trying and doing before you start gardening. Do them now before the end of March if you have time, or at least by the beginning of April, so that you are ready for your growing season. I hope you like this video, and I hope that you were able to learn something and that you were able to grasp a pointer here that will help you through your gardening journey. But remember to grow leafy, and I will see you all next time. Bye.